Okay, welcome back to Conscious Conversations. It has been a big gap between episodes, and I don't make apologies for that. I would like you to understand a little bit why there has been such a gap, because, you know, I've had some things personally go on, not with myself, but with my wife and my family. So much has been happening where I had to be more available at home, a lot more with the kids and sort of helping out, which then I had to prioritize my values, what I'm doing in my actions, and really sort of create real clarity on what are the needs and what are the wants. And I'd encourage anyone to do this if they're feeling really busy and overwhelmed. But one of the things that I had to take off the list for a while was the podcast. They do take quite a bit of time to sort of A, get the interviews, B, edit them up, get them online and sort of do it. And you've got to continue the process week in, week out. So it gave me a chance to sort of reassess where I want to take the podcast, and also to fall back in love with it, because I actually do love doing it. And I think it's a great platform for my voice, but also to talk authentically about what I love. So that did spark the engine again to really want to get into it. So I'm grateful for that. I'm going to try to get the frequency a bit less. So it's going to be like fortnightly podcast, 26 a year, but of real good quality, as opposed to trying to do them weekly. I just think there's too much. And even the podcasts that I'm listening to, ones that I love, you know, dudes are just filling it these days because they've committed to a week every week, and like every third one's good, but then the other two are just either someone they've had on again and they're talking about the same thing, or they're just a sort of a nothing podcast. And I just think it dilutes the quality. And I want to try to increase the quality and then maintain the quality. So that's really important. So that's where I'm at. I'm still being sort of on Instagram a lot. If you want to check more of me out, it's lukemclean.net online. Got plenty of meditations up there and been doing some stuff. So by all means do that. I've got a blog there. Sign up, get my mailing list, because I've been doing a little bit that night when I can just be by myself. I reintroduced the blog that I used to do, because I did have that space by myself, but I didn't have the space with other people, if that makes sense. Anyway, I'm rambling, and I want to get into the podcast, because I hate podcasts that they just go for minutes and minutes and go through ads. So no ads. This one's about mindfulness. We got Tomek Wyczesany. Tomek, I hope I got that right. We're going to explore mindfulness from more the science-based element to it. Tomek's got an awesome little business called Synergy Lab Sydney. He looks around stress and sleep and sort of how to reduce that monkey mind. So that's where he's hitting it from, and that's what this conversation's about. My feeling on mindfulness is we're just got to try to find what works for us, what allows us to become more present, to become calmer, and increase the quality of our attention. Now, that could be meditation. For some people might not be at that stage yet. It may be just having your first coffee in the morning without your phone and just being present with the coffee. We got to we just got to dip the toe in and find what you feel comfortable with. It's like working out. You got to get to the gym and firstly enjoy the gym before you might get the real rewards later. So that's what we do in this episode. This conversation is we just go through what mindfulness is, what it isn't, what we see as being really important in some of the themes. So without further ado, it's awesome to be back. I hope you like it, but here we've got Tomek Wyczesany. A little bit about the science around mindfulness that you've discovered, and how you then look at, especially your view on, which I really am passionate about, is around the mind training, not just the actual discipline to train the mind, not just sort of some people see it just as the fluffy stuff, but there's an actual need to train the mind to get better. And, you know, I'm from a fitness background initially, so when I talk a little bit about mindfulness, I look at it through that lens a lot, where, you know, if you just read fitness books, you're not going to get fit. So if you read about mindfulness and conceptually understand it, without the practice, it's not going to actually make you more mindful.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I think that's where we could go on the conversation.
Wonderful. No, I couldn't agree more. It's that pragmatic approach to mindfulness that I'm interested in, and that's how I see it. That's how I see it, and that's how it works in my life at the moment. I try to apply it obviously on a daily basis in in my mindfulness practice. But most importantly, over the past 10 years of my practice and me waking up to more towards this, I've realized that this is something that incorporates in every single moment of my life.
Yeah.
So it's no longer it's like going to a gym and you ask yourself why you really go to the gym. You don't really go to the gym to do 100 squats and I don't know, 100 push-ups and pull-ups and whatever. You go there to actually function better on a moment-to-moment basis.
Yep.
And the same with mindfulness. If it's I'm not saying this is a wrong way to start, to just sit down to feel more relaxed and again fluffy,
yep.
so to speak. That's a great start. But once one goes deeper into that, I think it becomes more the way of thinking and more way of perceiving things.
Yep. And
that essentially impacts your awareness of everything, right? Because even though if you say, I usually use that metaphor, if you go to the gym once a week, that's great. But you cannot expect that this is gonna, and if you go to the gym once a week and outside of that gym session, you eat junk food and you treat yourself badly, it's not going to really matter. And I think the same with mindfulness. If you just sit for 20 minutes twice a day, which is like the beginner's dose of mindfulness, daily mindfulness, and outside of that time you just don't do anything and you just whatever. I meditate.
Yeah.
But when you mistreat yourself and treat other people around you badly, then it doesn't really matter. It's just become another thing that you add to the list of things, and it doesn't change your mindset. I devised a kind of a funny title to myself because I couldn't find really job description to myself and what I do. So I called myself a paradigm shift scientist, and I believe this is the heart of what I do. I try to facilitate a change in thinking, try to facilitate a change of behavior that flows from the different mindset. And again, that mindset is not just turned on when you sit on a meditation cushion or on a chair and then switches off for the rest of the day. It's more, something that you try to keep on for most of the time, at least for all the time you want to feel happy, fulfilled, and be more yourself, right? This is outside of that space of running on autopilot, and that's what Harvard researchers talk about, right? And they found that 47% of the time we are simply not aware of what's going on.
Yeah,
and that's a bigger problem, because if you're not aware, that dynamic that psychologists called negativity bias kicks in, which means that our brain naturally shifts towards those negative experiences. And I think Rick Hansen talks about it beautifully using metaphor of a Velcro and a Teflon, right? Like our thoughts and our mind is like a Velcro towards those negative experiences and negative thoughts, and like a Teflon to those positive experiences. So when the moments that you are not aware, and that's how it works for me, my consciousness flickers, so to speak, like a flame. And during the time when I'm aware, I can make conscious choices, right? Whether it be this or that, whether to choose one experience over the other. However, during the time when you are unconscious, right, your mind will almost automatically shift towards those negative experiences, towards worries, towards what's wrong with me, towards what's wrong with other people and the world, and so on and so forth. So in a sense, a mindfulness training at the moment is more, again, it's a training. It's more trying to see in the laboratory of your mind how this works.
Yep.
Well, another example I give, if an athlete goes to the Olympics and it's about to run a 100-meter sprint, the time for training is over. Right? There's no time to think, okay, this or that. No, you just use everything that you trained yourself for and you just run. And I think on a daily basis, it's exactly the same. You sit on a cushion. Again, I'm using this as a reference, not as something to hold on to. Twice a day for 20 minutes. And then you rely on that training to be sort of active for the remaining time of the day. But at the same time, what that training tells you is awareness is everything.
Yeah.
Right? Awareness, how you feel, awareness, what you do. And that applies not only to what you think and your thoughts, but pretty much everything. And based on those experiences, I created a program called 6 Pillars of Wellbeing. And this is the fruit, so to speak, of all my experiences. At first, when I started my meditation practice, I thought, well, sitting on the cushion, that's all about it. Stay within your thinking process, what's going on, pay attention to your thoughts. But then I realized this is just one aspect of it. And those 6 pillars include both mental and physical aspect. And I think as if you come from a fitness background, you can appreciate that we are not just the mental process, we also a physical body, as in our consciousness manifests itself in a form of physical body. And therefore, both of them we have to include in what we do and how we think about ourselves. So say 6 pillars are divided. It's a framework. I'm a scientist. I love really using frameworks and protocols because they basically help me to focus my attention away. And that's how I operate. It might be not great to everyone, but well, if you don't have any framework to work with, whether it's a meditation on what you do on a daily basis, it's very easy to get lost. So that's why 6 pillars comes very handy.
Yeah, and I think, Tomek, what you're saying in that is really important because, with mindfulness and the want to get mindfulness, out to the masses, that we need a diverse range of tools and resources and ways people think about mindfulness, so more people can accept similar teachings on different levels. So for people that are similar to yourself, that like a framework, they like the structure, they like to see it in that way, that they can actually get it and go, that makes sense to me, as opposed to someone that would like it a little bit more free-flowing and a little bit maybe more, what would you say, just a little bit more philosophical, for instance,
yeah.
And they like it that way. So I think exactly what you're doing is right, because we all agree that it's needed and it's much needed. We look at the depression, we look at the suicide rates, we look at everything, and it's deeply needed within society in this.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And again, along this line, that's how evolution of my practice and my approach to mindfulness kind of proceeded. First, it started again, as I said already, sitting on a cushion and for a certain period of time, so many times a day. But then I realized that mindfulness is absolutely everything, and it applies both to the mental and physical part of my life. And that's why in this program I started talking about we have mental and physical part. Within the mental aspect, there is a movement. Yeah. Right? There's a nutrition and it's sleep as 3 fundamental parts of our physical kind of reincarnation, if you will. Mm. And then within the mental, it's awareness that many people understand as mindfulness, but I relate to it more as emotional regulation or emotional intelligence.
Yep.
rather than only mindfulness.